What's going on, guys? Sparrow here today, and today it's time to continue reacting to the Sound of Ponyville 2 series by Lost Narrator, and this time it's chapter 6. If I remember in the last part, I think it ended with Fluttershy like going up some sort of stairs and going to like this new place. It's been a while, so I'm sure I'll be caught up pretty fast, so I really don't know what to expect, and yeah. So, let's just get to this. 3, 2, 1, go. It's also a pretty long video, so, yeah. Sorry about that. Alrighty. I was kind of afraid that Lost was going to have a hard time continuing this series, seeing the name that you're seeing right there. She is having all sorts of medical issues at the moment and has been sick for months, so I'm praying that she gets better, guys. I mean, I'd hate to see someone with such good voice talent go such an unsettling way. Such an unfortunate way, that's what I should say. Sorry. Sorry, it is still pretty early in the morning, so yeah, not really sure what to expect, really. This is going to be all about catching up, pretty much. I think, if I remember correct, the monster got Fluttershy pretty good, and then she escaped it, just barely. The hall monster, is what I call it. The demon of the hospital. Alright, here we go. Okay, better know this.
The hallway was dark and long. It was old. It was covered in mold, as it was rotted from its core. Water fell down the sides of the walls in small streams. The floor had a small pool of water lying all about. The hair on the back of Fluttershy's neck stood on end, but she walked forward.
Sorry, I got transparent a little bit.
Every step echoed off of the walls, her hooves splashing against the water of the floor each time she passed a puddle. She didn't know where she was, or where the path was going. She didn't know what happened to Pinkie Pie. She didn't know what had happened to Rainbow Dash. She only knew that she had to go forward right now. The hallway turned. Fluttershy followed it. It turned again. She turned as well. The water was growing deeper. Soon, each footstep was splashing through the water with each step she took. She stumbled for a moment, adjusting herself to walking through the water with only 3 hooves.
Last time we dealt with Fluttershy was, I think, part 2 or 3
turned
of this.
Once more.
When Fluttershy nearly drowned.
The long winding corridor seemed to be leading her, guiding her to where it wanted to take her. She practically had no choice in the matter. Even if she wanted to, she could feel that there was no going back from this now that she had come this far. Once she crossed that doorway, there was no turning back. Just before
pretty much
the path opened up and split. A path to her left,
Sound of Ponyville is just a puzzle. It's a giant puzzle.
And in the middle stood a door right before her. The door was different, though. It wasn't made of the same rotting material as the other doors she had seen. Nor was it rustic metal, or anything that would fit in the drenched world she found herself in.
Wow.
The door looked exactly like the door to her house back in Ponyville, in the same great condition despite the environment. She carefully walked up to the door, pushing it open as she walked into the room it led to.
Well, this is the best place I can think of.
Dash
said, while flying with Fluttershy to the outskirts of Ponyville, to a small empty cottage that stood on the edge of the Everfree Forest. An old for sale sign stood before the property.
No one wants to live here since it's so close to the Everfree Forest.
Like vehicle effect.
With your love of animals, that might work out for you.
Wow, it looks great.
Fluttershy smiled quietly, walking up to the house. Fluttershy opened the door and looked inside. The house was dusty from disuse, but everything appeared to be in good condition still. It even came with furniture wrapped in cloth, waiting for someone to unwrap them for use once more. She wandered the home as Rainbow Dash entered the house after her. She could see everything that she could do with this home. She could make spots for animals to live.
Why is it seeming so very familiar?
She could set up several soft chairs for resting. And
something is seeming familiar about this. I don't know. I'll have
to cook the perfect meal.
Double check after this.
The water was still running in the bathroom.
Oh, Rainbow Dash, it's perfect.
Fluttershy smiled happily, returning to the living room.
Well, this is a Fluttershy story, Dot.
All right then, I'll buy it for you.
Rainbow grinned.
Rainbow got the cottage. Oh, that's cute.
Oh no, I could never ask you to do that. So much money. I can work to pay for it myself. Don't worry about it. This house is like dirt cheap right now, and I have plenty of money from my job here. Heck, they're even talking about promoting me.
Rainbow waved her hoof.
Why is this so familiar? That's my question. Something seems familiar about this.
Still,
was I spit everywhere?
I asked you to do that for me.
Fluttershy frowned, not wanting to take so much of Rainbow's charity. It was a huge investment just for her. She didn't feel worthy of it. Hey, just think of it as my apology for running out on you at school. Rainbow smiled weakly. So, in return, you make this house your perfect little home, alright? I know you had one in mind. You used to speak of it all the time when I last saw you. Fluttershy stared at the mirror before her, still stupefied. She slowly looked around the house once more.
Could have added a disturbed joke in there, but I'm not gonna do that.
Home. Something I never had as a filly. But I have the ability to make it come true.
Maybe it's a reference to one of the Silent Hill games.
Softly,
maybe that's where I'm getting this from.
I don't know. At the edges of her eyes.
Since I recently just figured out that Lost is a huge Silent Hill fanatic.
I'll make this my perfect home.
Perfect home.
The room dimmed from the bright light that had filled her vision.
Is that the key to this? A perfect home?
Before she had a chance to prepare for them. But now that the memories had faded, she could see the room for what it was. The room laid out similar to her living room, though it had looked like when she had moved in, covered in dust, with cloth covering all the furniture. Fluttershy was silent. She wasn't sure what to make of those images that she had just seen.
Also, if you guys are wondering why I am reacting, it's because I told you that I would react to a series that were still in progress. This was still in progress, so I'm going to continue to react to it. Don't know how long this is.
Ponyville, Dash helped her so much in finding a place to live.
That memory,
collecting memories.
I remember thinking that I didn't.
Key aspect to some of the Silent Hill games.
Spoke softly, surprised by her.
Someone should make a game of this, though. A fan-made game of Silent Ponyville.
But she couldn't remember
That'd be awesome.
Why she felt that way about her home.
Interesting,
a glint of light
actually.
Caught her eye as she turned to look at the back wall of the room. Something was hanging from the wall. She quickly walked up to the item, seeing that it was a key with the mark of a butterfly on it.
The butterfly effect?
Of it. She carefully picked it up and placed it in her bag.
First thing that came to my mind.
She exited the room, stepping her hooves back into the few inches of deep water in the hallway. She now had a choice. Go down the hallway to her left, or the one to her right. Taking a guess, she slowly began to walk down the left
This is going to be one of those riddles.
Listening to the sloshing over her hooves as she walked. She didn't walk too far before she stopped, staring at what was standing perfectly still in her path, blocking her movement. A mannequin seemed to be frozen.
Oh, crap. Nope, don't go that way.
It was just sitting there. Her music box didn't make a sound.
Still, don't go near it.
The desire to attack her, but it did seem to be waiting for her, blocking her path forward. She carefully stepped backwards away from the creature, it soon disappearing from her sights once more. She turned herself around and began to head down the right path, wanting to stay away from the path that led to any monsters if she could avoid it. The right path wasn't that long, though, as it came to a rather abrupt end not too far away from the fork. However, at the end was another door, though this one was different. It wasn't like the door to her cottage. This time, the door reminded her of the ones she would see back at flight school. She took a deep breath.
Like a cloud still?
Pushed the door open.
Type deal?
Heading inside.
Cloud still?
Now
okay.
You listen to me.
This is another memory.
Her father said gruffly, as the two of them stood outside of the flight.
This is an interesting story, by the way.
It's required for you to go to school, so you'll go every day they have it. You'll do everything your teachers tell you, and you'll come straight home unless
did she have a abusive father?
I'll likely allow your request, but every other rule,
like a military father,
applies. You don't talk unless spoken to.
Ooh.
You don't tell anyone anything unnecessary. You obey everything the adults say, unless I overrule them.
Okay, asshole.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
I squeaked her response.
What a piece of
Never
crap.
looking her father in the eye, keeping her head low.
If you understand, then I'll see you at home later tonight.
Who is that voicing him?
Away from her, spreading his wings
Thornquill?
out,
Maybe?
flying off. For the first time, Fluttershy lifted her head to look at her father flying away. Even from there, she could see the scalpel adorned his flank.
Considering we just found out who her father was, the characters don't match, but this took place before season 3, so makes sense.
There were lots of young and old Pegasi flying into the building. Many
This where she meets Rainbow Dash?
Many were meeting up with their friends, and many looked reluctant to head into the school. It was the first day of school. Fluttershy was happy that she had finally had a reason to be anywhere else other than home or the hospital. But the faces of many Pegasi that she had yet to meet intimidated her. She was scared of them. She gulped down the lump in her throat and slowly began to walk into the school. It seemed almost every other Pegasi was flying inside. She felt like she stood out like a sore hoof walking into the building. But there was a spark of hope.
Of course, gotta have the horse puns.
That hadn't been there before. Light faded from the room as the memory came to an end. The room she was left in looked like an abandoned school hallway, though cut off short by the suddenly wall. Rusted lockers lined the walls as a broken clock hung over them. The entire area was covered with dust from disuse.
Was my father always that stern?
Fluttershy wondered to herself, not having realized her father had talked down to her like that.
And I was afraid of him? But
yes.
Why was I afraid of my father?
Or was he just like stressed out from basically what's going on that has been revealed about Fluttershy's mother?
Within.
Something is happening to Fluttershy's mother, like she's dying of some sort of illness, like cancer, I guess. I don't know what it is.
Showing me
yet.
I forgot, or more accurately,
I apologize for my mom's laughter in the background.
Fluttershy felt
I don't know if you got that, but oh goodness gracious!
I forgot about these memories. I must have forgotten about them for a reason.
Fluttershy did her best to gulp down the lump that had formed in her throat. She walked carefully back into the room, noticing the key was still sitting there. She carefully picked it up, examining it. The key had a shape of a cloud on it. She carefully placed the key in her bag before exiting the room.
This puzzle seems very familiar. Like she's collecting these keys and coins, and
she headed down the hall.
She's gonna have to assemble them some way through a riddle.
It was the next place
Silent Ponyville, or not that. Silent Hill 2. Almost all the Silent Hill games have this.
Swallowing to keep her nerves.
I've only played Origins and seen playthroughs of some of the games.
But it was gone now, as if it had been standing guard, waiting for her to see the second memory. It had vanished from its position. Fluttershy counted her blessings at this. She couldn't handle any more injuries to her body.
Nope.
She imagined that the state her body
She
was
is
in,
in a lot of pain right
would
now.
possibly cause more serious internal injuries, ones that she could not fix herself. If she received an internal injury now, she'd just die a slow, painful death. Every step she was taking was draining her stamina, both physically and mentally.
You need a health
She
drink.
never imagined walking everywhere on 3 hooves would be so taxing, but it was. As she continued to follow the curving path of the hallway, the water began to become shallower as the path drew slowly upward. She was now walking on dry ground as the hallway began to open up. She reached the end of the hallway, the path opening up into a large lobby. Her
shit.
box began to hiss softly. Fluttershy turned
Almost
her
her back?
light to look at the room better. Just at the edge of her light, she saw a nurse pacing.
Oh, it's one of those.
The table in the middle of the room, before turning and walking back into the darkness. Fluttershy watched the darkness carefully when the nurse then reappeared at the edge of her light.
Oh
It
god.
walked the same path it had when she had first saw it, before it turned and walked back into the darkness. The nurse seemed to be walking on a pattern, as if waiting for something to disturb it or ruin its routine. Fluttershy very
Best to
carefully
avoid
closer
that.
to the table, but the nurse did not seem to notice her. Fluttershy's eye
It's one of the ones that have the
turned to
bandage over their eyes, they can't see
walking
you.
by,
Only hear you.
seeing something shine on it. It was another key. She paused carefully, waiting for the nurse to walk by and head away from the table. Her music box hissed as it stepped closer to Fluttershy, before growing quieter when the nurse stepped away from her. Once the coast was clear, she carefully walked to the table, grabbed the key, before backing up before the nurse got closer once more.
Oh,
She
man.
examined the key carefully, seeing that there was a symbol of a cross on it. She
So a
placed
cross,
the key
a
into her
cloud, and a
bag
butterfly.
looked around the room.
Cross,
Other than the circling
butterfly.
nurse, there was the usual scenery of broken
Interesting.
chairs and rotted
Is there an
walls.
orange pony?
On one side, she could see an extended wall with a door on it and a bookshelf along the wall past it.
I can't.
Then just past the circling nurse
Yes!
looked to be a small hallway.
Gosh, you gotta love family.
You know what? Kiss my butt!
She carefully walked around the table, making her way to the door she could see. She pushed the door open, heading inside. Her music box became quiet as the familiar light flashed before her eye.
Oh, don't be such a crybaby.
Ooh,
Really,
who's
Fluttershy
this?
whimpered as the nurse applied the alcohol to her cuts. The nurse rolled her eyes a little,
Nurse Red Heart?
pulling away the cotton ball
Maybe Nurse Red Heart?
and placing a Band-Aid on the wound.
You really should be used to this by now. You're always coming in here with some problem.
Oh, you.
I don't know why your father doesn't just take care of you at home.
The nurse said begrudgingly as she walked away from the table Fluttershy sat on to the counter.
That's
Ooh, that
because
music, it sounds familiar.
Fluttershy whimpered softly. The nurse snapped her head to glare at Fluttershy. Fluttershy instantly shut her mouth. She shrank back into the table, trying to avoid the glare of the nurse. The nurse, once satisfied that the filly wouldn't say anything, turned back to the counter.
So basically, this
organizing
nurse is like the
items.
robust type.
The
Like one of
door
those
to the
ones
room
that
clicked
says,
open
suck it up, basically.
As Fluttershy sat straight up,
Gosh, every Cloudsnow
whole
pony in this
body turning
story a
stiff
jerk?
as her father strolled into the room before closing the door.
Besides Fluttershy and
Is
her mother?
everything fine with my daughter?
Was the
Ooh.
first thing he asked. The nurse pony instantly turned to him. Her whole
I think
face
the
lit
father
up,
is
as
stressed
if his
based
new
on what's going
presence
on
brought her joy.
with the mother. I think that's why he's so messed up.
You know I always do the finest work I can. When you're asking me to.
The nurse said, batting her eyelids.
Is that what I think it is? An affair? Is that an
smiling
affair going
almost
on?
as if her life depended on it. Fluttershy's father didn't
Is there an
impress
affair
by
going
the
on?
invitation
Oh man, that's
and turned
messed
to
up.
look at his daughter. His daughter sat straight up, shivering as she sat on the table, afraid of what her father might do or say.
Have you recovered from your accident?
Her father asked with a stern, overbearing tone,
Ooh,
as if he didn't really care
God.
that she had recovered.
Yes, sir.
Fluttershy stuttered and squeaked, her whole body shaking as she stared straight ahead, not making eye contact with him.
If you are, then leave. You can do as you wish, just be in the lobby by 9, and I'll take you home.
Yes, sir.
Fluttershy instantly jumped off the table and practically bolted out of the room. Closing the door behind her, she panted softly to herself as her heartbeat pounded inside of her chest.
Oh, doctor.
Fluttershy heard the nurse almost moan from inside the room. She didn't want to stick around anymore. She ran away from the room. She'd be in the lobby when her father told her to be, but she'd be as far away from him as she could be.
My God.
The light faded away, revealing a room similar to the one she had just seen in the vision, only much like the rest of the world, falling apart, broken into pieces.
Oh,
A chill ran down Fluttershy's back as she recovered from the returning memory.
That's fucked up.
She was
Absolutely
her
fucked up. Her father was having an affair with the nurse. Oh my God.
She couldn't remember what he did to make her
Wow.
fear him, but she did have an idea.
Wait a minute, wasn't that Scribbler?
My father.
Yes, it was, because in one of the blooper reels it
She
shows.
muttered the words to herself. She didn't want to believe that he did, but everything was falling into place that he had.
I almost got tears in my eyes from
Maybe
that.
she was jumping to conclusions. Maybe she was blowing it out of proportion. Or maybe he had punished her too severely once by accident and hadn't made amends yet.
Or maybe I'm trying to make excuses for my father.
She sighed out loud.
There you go,
and
Fluttershy.
raised her
Yeah,
head a little.
you're covering for your father,
I
who is
have to know the
pretty much a
whole
douche.
story.
what he
Fluttershy
did.
said, lifting her head up.
If I don't find out now, I'll regret it for the rest of my life.
Fluttershy gulped once more. She walked carefully to the end of the room, where, on the table, she spotted a similar key to the others that she had gathered.
Okay,
This one seemed to have the symbol of a needle.
a needle.
She carefully placed it alongside her other keys. She exited the room.
That's 4
The
keys.
hissing of her music box returned as the pacing nurse returned to her sight. Fluttershy carefully moved her lantern to get a better view of the room, seeing if she forgot anything. A similar glint caught her eye in the corner of the room, a glint coming from the worn-down bookcase that laid against the wall, just outside the nurse's pacing range. She waited for the nurse to cycle through the path once more, then quickly rushed over to the
This is so well written, like a
making
game.
sure the nurse didn't turn
Like
up the
actual
pacing
Silent
time.
Hill
She
game.
looked at the
Because this is true. There are
It
monsters that
seemed
go
to
in
be
certain
filled with
patterns,
rotting
and you have to just
medical
avoid them.
books. Ones that she saw a lot as a fold, but they were
Excuse me.
all illegible now. Hanging loosely on one of the rotted rows was another key. This one had the symbol of a book on it.
What?
She carefully placed it into her bag before
Okay.
turning to watch the nurse once more. The
Don't run
only
into her.
place she had left to go now was the hallway the nurse seemed to be pacing just in front of.
Oh God.
Fluttershy watched the nurse carefully. It seemed that she'd just have a few seconds at best to run past the nurse and get to the hallway with her being the farthest away from it as she could. She remembered the last time she got too close to a nurse. It screamed, and it summoned. A cold shiver ran down her back again.
So I wonder if Pyramid
She
Heads
couldn't
would actually
face
be
that
part of
creature.
this.
If she
That'd
faced
be
it,
interesting.
it would no doubt be able to kill her this time. She took a deep breath and waited. She counted the number of times the nurse walked in a circle before her. She couldn't afford to mess the timing up even by just a second. 10 times. 15 times. 20 times. She didn't want to move, but she knew she had to. She stilled her nerves, stretched out her 3 hooves, and crouched down as she aimed for the door. She ran as fast as her hooves could take her past the nurse, staying as far away from it as possible. The hallway came up on her blind side, but she knew where it was. She turned as soon as she needed to and moved down the hallway away from the nurse. She skidded to a halt as the hallway came to an end abruptly. She had almost run straight into a heavy chained metal door.
Whoa.
It took her eye a moment to focus on the door.
Okay, now this is where the keys are going to come into play.
She could see everything.
It's probably going to be another riddle.
There were 5 padlocks holding the chains to the metal door behind it. It seemed to have something written on it, but it was blocked by the chain.
Okay, there's the riddle, and then she has to put the keys in a certain way.
Instantly. They matched the keys that she had gathered from around the area. Being careful but swift, she pulled out each key one by one and placed them in their corresponding lock. Each lock and key fell to the ground, seeming to shatter against the ground. As the final lock fell, the chains fell with it, the chains seeming to scatter into pieces across the ground. The door was now free, and she could see what was written on the door.
Strains of the heart, chained up memories. Will things be the same? You know what is true. You are not what you think you are. But feelings are strong. They can change everything. Or they can change nothing. Experience the sins of another. Then perhaps the threads of destiny will make their feelings known.
Fluttershy looked at the poem and read it carefully. She read it at least 3 times, not fully understanding.
It's in relevance to what she just experienced.
A shiver ran down her spine as she read it, though. She had this feeling in the gut of her stomach. It was a premonition that was trying to warn her about her future, telling her that she had something important to do once she crossed this door.
I can't be scared of now,
she said out loud to herself quietly, before reaching a hoof up
Boz would be
and
scared of
pushing
it now.
the door open.
Wow, that noise.
Fluttershy
Fire.
almost felt blown back. A wave of heat struck her as the door opened. She shielded her eye from the heat. It felt like an inferno was burning on the other side of the door.
Fire.
She slowly moved her eye from where
It's
the
very
fire
common
was
in Silent Hill.
The room before
See, that's what
her
causes
was
the fog. It's not,
covered in
well, not the fog, but
flames.
what's falling from the
Fluttershy's jaw
sky.
dropped,
It's not
staring
snow, it's
into
ash.
flames. She slowly walked into the room, looking around. She could feel the heat all around her, and she was having difficulty discerning the appearance of the room. The door shut behind her as her vision began to clear. She was inside what looked like an abandoned house that she had entered in Ponyville, only covered in fire. She looked around. The fire was everywhere. It seemed that the house should have burned down to the ground already, yet it somehow was managing to stay upright despite the flames. But something stood out in that fire. Her eyes turned to focus on the figure that stood in the flames, looking at a picture that hung on the wall. It was a blue Pegasus with a rainbow mane.
Rainbow Dash.
Fluttershy called out, surprised but happy to see her mare friend was alive and okay. She tried to draw closer, but a wave of fire seemed to stand between her and Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash continued to stand in the same place, staring at the picture.
It's not real. It's probably a hallucination.
Rainbow Dash?
Or just a vision.
Fluttershy called out once more.
It's all the same. You know?
Rainbow Dash not
sorry.
looking away from the picture.
Huh? I can't believe I didn't see it before.
Yeah, what's in the picture?
But it's really always been like this.
Rainbow Dash closed her eyes for a moment before opening them again.
Always running away. Always getting away when I didn't care anymore. Rainbow Dash? What are you talking about? I'm the element of loyalty. What a load of crud that is.
Rainbow closed her eyes. as a small smile faded from her face.
Kind of is.
All I ever do is abandon. I've never really cared about my friends or loved ones. I've only cared about myself. There's a better life out there for you.
It's not entirely
I don't want to be held
false.
up by your...
That actually is not entirely
I
false.
don't care about clearing the skies for you. I don't care about you as a friend anymore. I'm going
Ooh.
to abandon you for your own desires.
But, Rainbow Dash...
Fluttershy, it's just a vision.
Are you blind? After you got separated from us, I abandoned Pinkie Pie to go find you. I yelled at her. I blamed her for getting us into this mess. I said that if you died, this would be all of her fault.
Rainbow Dash shook her head softly.
Oh boy.
And I've hurt you the worst with my abandonment, and you still say that I don't? I abandoned you at flight school when you needed me the most. Oh, because I don't care to be held down.
Rainbow lowered her head, a sad grin on her face, as she seemed to be accepting the truth just as much as she was telling it.
That was a long time ago. Things have changed.
You know, Fluttershy, when you join the Wonderbolts, there's a minimum 1-year mandatory private training you have to go through to learn all the techniques and the flight patterns, to fly with the Wonderbolts successfully. They perform shows year-round, all over Equestria.
It almost seemed like Dash didn't want to say this.
When I make my dreams come true, I'm leaving Ponyville.
Oh.
I'm leaving my friends behind. I'm leaving you behind.
Okay.
I'll be abandoning you once again.
Is this really Rainbow Dash, or is it just a hallucination? I think it's only a hallucination, but I could be wrong.
Words. No.
Hard to tell.
More accurately, she didn't want to comprehend.
Especially with
her
this kind of
words.
voice acting. It's
They
freaking
felt like
crazy
needles
good.
trying to jab into her heart.
But hey, why should that change now?
Dash lifted her head up and looked at the picture before her.
What's the
I
picture?
ran away from home. I quit flight school. I give up on friends because we don't see eye to eye anymore. And I'll get rid of all my friends just for some silly dream.
The sad grin returned to Dash's face.
I burn all my bridges I make in life so that I don't ever have to look back at what I've done.
Dash.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've ever fell in love with some pony like me, Fluttershy. I'm not one who deserves it.
Dash turned away from the picture, her back facing Fluttershy.
You should just forget about me.
Dash began to slowly walk away, walking towards a doorway
Wow.
that Fluttershy couldn't reach through the burning flames.
Rainbow Dash!
Dash stopped in her tracks for a moment, as if she didn't want to, but she had to hear what Fluttershy needed to say.
Rainbow Dash.
Fluttershy whimpered a little, feeling tears burning the edge of her eye. She gulped the lump down in her throat and lifted her head, summoning all the courage she could muster from her heart.
I need you to be strong right now. Alright?
Dash didn't react or move away. She stood there.
Oh my god, this is getting to me, man.
Slowly. But after a time,
God
she
damn it.
finally spoke up.
All right.
Was the only word that escaped from Rainbow before she disappeared into the doorway before her, being shrouded by the fire that filled the house. For a moment, Fluttershy thought she had seen tears fall from Dash's face. Fluttershy lowered her head
I don't know
as tears began to fall from her eye.
I didn't know if my computer was going to black screen or if it was the video.
She
I didn't know
didn't
that.
care how hot she felt, or that the flames were still burning so close to her. She just wanted to cry right now.
Oh my god. Wow. That was hard. That was very hard for me to hold back the tears, man. Holy crap. Okay, Fluttershy, Philly, Fluttershy, Thorncoil, yep. Lost narrator, yeah. Soft Cure. Scribbler, yep, because I knew that because of the blooper reel that she was in. Where she says, oh, doctor, seductively. Oh my god, that was hard. Promise. Okay. Just waiting for this to end, and we'll get to the final. Whoop. And of course, we're gonna go to commercial. Okay, whatever. Holy moly. Okay. Wow. I'd have to hear the poem again in order to understand what the lesson is here that she was supposed to do. I mean, I'm not good with riddles at all. I suck at riddles. But, wow, that one was powerful. That was very powerful against the viewer. That's the thing about this. That was the thing about this part. It was very powerful. Like, very powerful. And, God, I can't freaking wrap my head around it. That was just powerful against me. I mean, oh my god. Wow. That's a lot. I was trying so hard not to cry, and so many powerful elements. I mean, Fluttershy didn't know it as a filly, but her father was having an affair with the nurse, while her mother was suffering in a hospital bed. Basically on her death. On the brink of her death. Wow. That is powerful, and just, ooh. And then you get to the part with Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy having to, where she has to reveal something that is gonna just devastate her beloved. But the question is, will Fluttershy stay with her because she's her beloved, or what? Wow, that one just had a lot of strong elements, and I was so close to crying. I mean, wow. Okay. Well, definitely can't wait for the next part, and I don't know if it's going to come anytime soon. Seeing, like what I mentioned at the beginning, it was, I mean, Emogak is going through hell right now. I heard that she is improving, but not necessarily to the point of where she is, fully active again. But that's okay. I'm willing to wait as long as this is going to take. This is a great series. And that was just a powerful episode. I mean, wow. If I could give any episode or chapter any sort of, scale of how strong that was the strongest one. That would hit me right in the feels hard. Anyways, I don't want this video getting too long. So until next time, guys, it's all for now. Like, comment, subscribe for more, and hit the bell icon, of course. And until next time, take care. Sparrow for now. And bro huff.